Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit about what I was talking about, how easy it is to line up your work on your laser engraver. I've tried a little bit of everything. As you can see, I have the honeycomb grid here. It is smaller than what it should be, but when I was getting into this hobby, I really didn't know what size to buy. I didn't understand the whole layout of the laser thing. I've only been doing this about a month, so I bought this laser grid. It was on sale, it was cheap, that's why I bought it, and it turned out to be a fairly good one, and it's worked out for what I need, even though I'm probably going to get a larger one later. Okay, so this is the 2 trees laser grid. It's 350 by 350, so it's a square, whereas my laser is 410 by 390, so my laser bed is actually a little bit larger. When you buy this honeycomb grid, as you can see, it's nice, thick, good quality, but when you buy it, it also comes with this sheet of metal, and I use this sheet of metal underneath it. Pardon my little scraps here. I use this sheet of metal underneath it to protect my spoil board underneath. Now, when I was learning to put all this together, I first started out, I was just kind of putting my material down, trying to figure out where it went. Sometimes I made tiles and stuff that were a little bit off of center, which kind of looked bad. So I did some research, and then I found where somebody suggested making a spoil board with a grid on it. So I made my own. It didn't come out exactly perfect, but I made my own, made some circles in the middle and whatnot. It does work. I use this for engraving, not cutting, because I don't want to ruin the spoil board. Now this is going to change. This is going to turn into an enclosure top that I saw on the Clock Shack, where he actually uses his honeycomb as a top, and it draws the fumes down into it and exhausts them out instead of the other way around, which kind of made a lot of sense to me. So this is the spoil board that I have. Yes, I can take something, I can put it on here, I can line it up to the coordinates, which right there it's at 90 and 200. I can go back to Lightburn. I can make sure that the bottom of the project lands at 200 and the side of it lands at 90, and it'll be fairly close. But when I cut my spoil board, it's a little bit smaller than the bed as well, thus causing a problem. I said there has to be an easier way to do this. So I spent a lot of time researching, a lot of time looking at Lightburn to try to figure out a better way, and I think I found it. I think I found one that works really, really well. It doesn't matter if my spoil board coordinates are too small. It doesn't matter if my honeycomb is too small. It doesn't matter, because I can line projects up fairly quickly. Now everything's turned on. My laser's turned on. I've got Lightburn up on my computer, and I'm going to show you how I would line this up. It's really not that hard, but I'm going to use a 12 by 12 piece of wood instead of this tile, because I've got a file open already that's for a 12 by 12 piece of wood. So give me just a moment and I'll show you a couple more things. Okay, so here we are in Lightburn. I just started using this program about a month ago, and the one thing I've learned about laser engraving is that it's about 10% learning the machine and about 90% learning the software. I didn't understand how to make this function at first. I started out using the Laser GRBL free program and was able to make some things, but I found it really hard to line things up. I have not bought this program yet because I'm still on the free trial. And I'm planning on buying this program, I believe, because I figured out how to line things up and make them work and to design things. So in this project, you will see that I had a graphic of the Carolina Hurricanes, a hockey team here in North Carolina. And what I did was I wanted to make a plaque for my wall that was kind of the same thing. I changed it up a little bit, added a couple more stars on each side, as you can see here. Change the middle up a little bit, and then I'm going to make this into either a plaque or a clock. So we're going to move that out of the way. Here's what we have so far. Now it's not ready for cutting yet. It still needs some fine tuning, but I'm going to show you how I figure out how to put my work on my laser bed, and it seems to be a lot easier than everything I had tried before. And I've watched multiple videos, I've watched all kinds of things trying to learn how to position my work the best I could, because there's nothing worse than having a square and your product, whatever you're making, being off to the side a little bit, or too high or too low. So there's one thing I didn't do in this one. that I'm going to do while we're sitting here watching. And I do this for my 6x6 tiles. I do this for my wood projects, anything like that. I want to make the most out of the piece of wood or the piece of tile that I'm using. So I always add a tool layer down here, T1 or T2, it doesn't matter. I add a tool layer, and we're going to make it square because we're using a square piece. Okay, so my square kind of got out of view there. So we're going to make it square. We're going to move it down here. Let's move everything back to where we can see it. Alright, so here I have my square, but what I want to do is I want to select my square, and you can see it's 12.2903 and 12.0206. So it's not a perfect square. I just pulled it out real quick to put it in there. So I unlock in my size. I jump over here and I type in 12, tab, 12, tab. Okay, so now it's 12 by 12, which is the size of wood I'm going to be using. So now I can see this is the wood that I would be using behind it, and I can kind of line it up a little bit. So I don't really care if it's exact. What I want to do is I want to make sure it all fits. It fits there, it fits there, it fits there, and it fits there. And I do hope you guys can see this on the computer. I'm new to YouTube as well, so I'm trying to figure this stuff out. But now I can see that it lines up all the way around, and it should fit. Now what I do is this. Okay, so I've got the square highlighted. None of this is highlighted, but the square is. I will go in Lightburn to this little target symbol, this little crosshair right here. Right here, if you don't know where it is, it's up by group and ungroup and all the other choices right here, right above H space. This is the one I use. I click on that, and it gives me some options. Now the option that I want to use is I want to drop down here to move laser to upper left of selection. You can do it upper left, you can do it in the center, you can do it the right, you can do it lower left, lower right, the top, the bottom. You can do all those choices. But it's just easier for me if I move it to the upper left. Some people want to start at the bottom, some people want to start at the top. But I'm going to move my laser to the upper left. So we click on that, and our laser is now moving to the upper left. Hold on just a minute, let me get the other camera running so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so now that we have that, the laser is actually sitting right here on my laser bed. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. And what it'll do is when I click frame, it'll drop down and it'll go around the square, and it's going to show me where my woodwork needs to be. So let me switch over to the other camera and we'll show you what's going on. Okay, hang tight. Okay, so we've got it set up in Lightburn like I showed you, where I put my graphic on there. I put a toolbox around it, and the toolbox, if you don't already know, it doesn't engrave. It just shows you where the layout is, so it doesn't engrave. It's a great way to see your material. I've got it set up. I've put my laser head up on the top left corner of my project. As you can see, it's right here. You can see my bed is a little bit too small, but it's going to work out. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using. This is a 12 by 12 piece of 3mm. Supposed to be. Comes from Amazon. Some of them are a little thicker, some of them are a little thinner. Found one with glue across the back. It's not always a perfect thing when you order this stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 12 by 12. I can see where my laser head is on my bed here, and it should be sitting in the left top corner of where I want this project. Okay, so what I do is I take my 12 by 12 piece of wood and I put it on my laser bed. I slide it under the laser head. We're going to up too low, so we're going to adjust the laser. Nice thing about Ortour is this little adjuster arm is always right here, always connected. So we're going to adjust the laser just till it touches, tighten it down, and put the arm away, which would be perfect for cutting. Now it's at the right height. So I've got it just up underneath the laser head. I try to put that corner where it's about half and half. Okay, so when I do the frame portion, what I'm going to be doing is, and this piece of wood, as you can see, has got a little warp to it. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to watch where my laser beam goes. Now, I have Lightburn set up for continuous framing, which means once I hit frame, it'll run around the project with the laser on a very dim light, and then it'll run around the project, and it'll keep doing that until I tell it to stop. Okay, I tried it the other way where it just did it one time, and I couldn't get to it fast enough to move it and find it and whatnot. But this is the way I do it. It's going to continuously frame. I'm going to watch where the blue laser light is. I'm put on my glass. I'm going to watch where the blue laser light is, and then I'm going to line it up. Now, in my mind, for some reason, the way I line things up is my fingers. And what I mean by that is, when I see that blue line come down and I look at the edge of the wood, I'm looking to see, is it a pinky width? Is it a thumb width? Is it a pinky width all the way around? That's what I do. I'm an old carpenter. Used to build houses, so you kind of learn to do things without a tape measure and just make it work out. So I'm going to watch that blue dot as it comes down and goes around. And what I'm going to do is, as it continues to frame, I'm going to look at the top and I'm going to look at the bottom when it goes across and try to make sure they're even enough. Now remember, I'm not cutting all the way to the edge of the wood, so it can have a little bit of play. I'm going to try to look at the sides and make sure they're even one to another. Well, this piece of wood is bad. And that's what I'm talking about. When you order from Amazon, sometimes you get wood that's not unwarped or whatever. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go back to Lightburn. I'm going to tell it to frame my project. As it's framing my project, I'm going to move that wood, and it's going to be little movements. It's not going to be a lot, because once I have it in the top left corner and I put my wood underneath that top left corner, it's pretty close right there. Okay, it's pretty close. We just need to finish lining it up and help the machine out a little bit. So I'm going to tell it to frame. We're going to move the piece of wood. We're going to get it ready to go. Okay, give me just a second. I want to cut off some things, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and burn the outer circle of this project. That's all I want to burn. Okay, so if I want to check my laser to make sure it's in the top left corner, let me move the laser head a little bit. Okay, so we'll get it all out of whack. So it's way over there. Okay, so now that it's out of whack, what we want to do is go back to that little crosshair up at the top, go move laser to the upper left of selection. You'll see it moved right to where I needed it. And now we're going to go to frame. We're going to watch what happens, and we're going to figure out how much we need to move our wood. Now, this is the fastest way I've ever seen it. I've got numbers here, I've got numbers here, I've got numbers here, I've got numbers here, and you can use those coordinates. It's a great way to do it. But this is fast for me, and this is easy for me, and it doesn't matter that my honeycomb is not the exact size it needs to be. It doesn't matter as long as my wood is square to my machine and it starts at a known point where I'm putting it. It'll do what I need to do. Now pardon me, I get a little choked up when I talk too much. So we're going to hit frame. You'll see the laser come on. Okay, so the laser's down here. It's off. Make sure I got everything at 12 by 12. Okay, so we'll move the wood down just a little bit. Over just a little bit. We're still off on the bottom a little bit. We're still off on the side a little bit. Hang on just a moment. My square might just be a little bit out of whack. Hold on just a moment. Okay, so we're hitting give me just a moment. I just need to make a couple of adjustments in my program. Okay, let's go back to frame. Right along the bottom, right along the side, right along the top, right along the left side. So it should be okay. And as I say, pardon me guys, I live near a military base, so you ever hear that loud noise, it's helicopters flying over. So as I say, once we get it lined up and we know it's there, we can move forward. Okay, so I'm going to stop the framing. I'm going to go back to my cuts and layers. The framing will stop in a moment by itself. That one. I can't see my computer with my glasses on, so I have to take them off. Okay, so here's what we're going to cut. We're going to cut the letters and the stars out of this piece of wood. We're going to go back to the upper left corner. The laser goes back on its own once I tell it to. It's right to where I need to start. Put my glasses back on. I'm going to cut on the air assist. Pardon the noise, but I like clean cuts. I just got that thing a couple days ago, so trying it out. And we're going to go over the laser. I'm going to tell it to start. And as you can see, it went right into my project, right where I need it. It's going to start with the bottom. Okay, it's starting with the U on the bottom in the word hurricanes. It kind of picks where it wants to go and where it wants to start. But as you can see, it lined right up on my project. It's all going to fit. This is a quick and down and dirty, easy way for me to line things up. I recommend you try it. All the coordinates and stuff took me a long time to do and get things straight and get them right. But I happened to click this button one day when I was trying to learn the software, and I was like, oh, move laser to top left corner. Well, that would make it a lot easier to line stuff up. Because once I know where that top left corner is, I just frame it and make sure it all fits. So this is the way I do it. I hope you guys learned something. I hope this helped you guys out a little bit. As you can see, we're getting a nice cut on it so far. But I hope you learned something. Maybe this will make it easier for you to learn to put your material in the correct position and make your projects go a lot quicker and be more satisfying for you to do. Alright folks, so using the method I showed you of putting your laser in the upper left corner with that symbol on Lightburn and then doing the cut, this is what we have so far. Of course, it's not completely put together yet, it's still got to be glued together, but I think it came out pretty good. I think you should try this method if you're having problems aligning your material on your laser machine. If you have any questions, please let me know. Hey, bye bye.